So 175 we're talking about impairment. Firstly, we have to understand impairment hoti kya hai. What is impairment? So if you have an asset, for instance, that on your books is appearing for, let's say, originally I bought an asset for $10,000. Okay. So मैंने $10,000 का ये asset खरीदा. That is the idea. And then let's say this asset has a life of also 10 years. So my average depreciation per year is $1,000 using straight line method. Let's say 5 years into the use of this asset, we get to the point if 5 years baad, the asset will appear in your balance sheet at a net value of $5,000, assuming there is no salvage value. So $5,000 की इसकी 5 years के बाद value है. This is its current book value. So the way it would actually appear in your balance sheet is, balance sheet में जिस तरह से देखिएगा asset की side में कि it will throw up assets. This will show asset A 10,000. यहाँ पे आएगा accumulated depreciation, which is a contra account. So we'll say 5,000. So net asset A 5,000, right? This is how it would appear in your balance sheet. You would have your asset written at its original historical cost, the historical cost of 10,000. Then you would have your depreciation taken away from it, which is your accumulated depreciation of contra account, a credit nature account with 5,000. And since you're in the middle of it, 5,000 will be your book value. Yeah, आपकी book value, BV. What if it turns out that when we get to the market to actually sell this asset for $5,000, we realize कि हमें 5,000 नहीं मिलेंगे, हमें मिलेंगे सिर्फ 3,000. ये इसकी market value है. And this market value, this reduced market value, is what we are saying is the fair value now. ये अब market में यही fair value है, इससे ज्यादा की cost नहीं है इसकी. तो अगर नया भी खरीदना चाहूंगा अगर मैं, तो I will be able to buy a new one at a lower price than the original 10,000. Historical cost से सस्ते में मिल भी जाएगी इसकी नई चीज. And overall the value has declined. This is a situation where we mark as impairment, where we reduce the value of our asset as impairment. Because think about it, अगर इस asset की book value अभी in the middle of its life is 5,000 and I go and sell this asset in the market and only get 3,000, so I will incur a loss on sale of $2,000. But fact of the matter is this is not a loss on sale just yet. अभी मैंने sale करी नहीं asset. I may keep it for the next 2 years, next 3 years and then sell it. What I'm realizing is कि market में वो value अब रही नहीं इसकी, वो कीमत रही नहीं इस product की, इसकी value permanently decline कर गई है. अब ये product इतना महंगा है ही नहीं market में. For example, I realize नया वाला 10,000 का नहीं 6,000 का आ जाता है, तभी मेरा half used 3,000 का बिक रहा है. So the value has declined for this exact product. For me, it's an asset. For the rest of the market, it's a product. Product की value has declined. So for me to claim that I got a $2,000 loss on sale, वो तो हुआ ही नहीं अभी. I haven't had a loss on sale because I haven't sold this asset yet. It's still in my books. It's just the book value and the fair value of the product or the asset in this case are far off. And the fair value is lower than the book value. So for me, it makes sense to mark impairment in my books. मैं impairment mark कर लूंगा in my books with the idea के भाई I don't want to claim that I've had a loss on sale. That's not the case. I also don't want to wait for the period when I actually sell off this asset. For me, I want to reduce the value of this asset today so that tomorrow when I sell it, it doesn't show up as a loss on sale. क्योंकि जो भी आपका consumer आपका product आपकी financial statements को read करेगा, whoever will read your financial statements will think you've had a loss on sale. And they may think that you're really not very smart about selling your assets, you don't know how to sell your assets. They may get that impression. You don't want them to have that impression. Your intention is कि यार impairment mark कर लेते हैं. Let people know that the value of the asset has declined. It's not about that I don't know where to sell it or I've sold it too cheap. That is not what happened. So what I will do is I will mark a $2,000 impairment and bring my asset to a new value of $3,000, which is also fair market value. Next year when I go to sell it, I will receive a similar value from it, resulting in either a very small gain on sale or a very small loss on sale, not resulting in a massive loss on sale or a massive gain on sale. Basically, not giving the consumer of my financial statements the wrong idea. This is why impairment is important. Does that make sense, folks? Is everybody on the same page as me? Let me know. Impairment आपको समझ आ जाती है? Okay, thank you, Asta. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, cool, thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Okay, cool. So impairment के कुछ signs हैं. There are some telltale signs that will tell you that there is an impairment. So Ronak is asking, could you please explain again? So Ronak, the idea is अगर आपकी asset की book value और fair value में difference है, book value ज़्यादा है, asset की market में fair value कम है, then there is an impairment. There is a reduction that you need to mark. Impairment. कोई नहीं, अगर आपको भी एक बार में नहीं समझ में भी आया तो मैं भी आपको थोड़ा अच्छे से अभी बता दूँ. It's not the end of the topic here. I will discuss this in more detail. So the idea is impairment के कुछ telltale signs हैं. कुछ ऐसे साइंस हैं जो जो देखकर आपको पता चल जाएगा यार इम्पेयरमेंट हो रही है शायद, मतलब आपको जिससे हिंट आ जानी चाहिए. तो वो साइन क्या है? जैसे डिक्लाइन इन डिमांड. अचानक से अगर कोई प्रोडक्ट डिमांड से बाहर हो रहा है तो उसकी वैल्यू डिक्लाइन हो जाएगी. सो फॉर एग्जांपल इफ मैं बताता हूँ रौनक, जस्ट होल्ड ऑन, मैं भी बताता हूँ. यू विल गेट टू नो इट बाय द एंड ऑफ वन. व्हेन आई एम डन टॉकिंग यू विल फाइंड आउट मैं क्या बात कर रहा हूँ. डोंट वरी, मैं समझ गया. आपको भी पूरी तरह नहीं भी पता चला, बट आप समझ जाओगे जब मैं आपको बताऊंगा. So, for example, there's a decline in demand. So, for example, if you're selling floppy disks, right? You're selling a floppy disk. Remember one of those old age floppy disks? So most of us are 90s kids, yeah. So most of us will remember. वो square सी disk होती थी, बीच में उसके एक magnetic circle होता था, that had to be inserted into a floppy drive. So just like a CD. So if you were selling floppy disks and the CDs had just come out, you would notice कि आपकी फ्लॉपी डिस्क जो है उसकी डिमांड कम होती जा रही है, लोग सीडी ज्यादा खरीदना चाह रहे हैं. सो फॉर अस इन दैट सिचुएशन दिस इज अ स्मॉल साइन कि यार डिमांड रिड्यूस हो रही है मेरे प्रोडक्ट की. एंड अगेन इफ यू सेल फ्लॉपी डिस्क फॉर यू इज योर इन्वेंट्री. इन्वेंट्री इज एन एसेट. योर एसेट्स बुक वैल्यू इज नाउ मोर देन इट्स फेयर वैल्यू. तो ये इम्पेयरमेंट हो रही है. दैट इज द आइडिया. इसी तरह डिक्लाइन अगर फेयर वैल्यू में आ जाता है, डायरेक्टली आपको यही पता चल जाता है कि फेयर वैल्यू डिक्लाइन हो गई है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर सेलिंग गोल्ड, बट देन यू रियलाइज कि गोल्ड में जो आपका करंट प्राइस है और मार्केट में जो करंट प्राइस है उसमें फर्क आ गया है, मार्केट ने गोल्ड सस्ता हो गया. तो दैट कुड बी अ साइन. इनएबिलिटी टू कीप अप विद टेक्नोलॉजी और कंपटीशन, decline in fair value, net operating loss over a sustained period, negative cash flow, change in regulatory or legal environment, and for goodwill impairment only, loss of key personnel या फिर impairment loss by subsidiary. So I'll talk about this. Goodwill की भी बात करूंगा मैं. Goodwill तो भी intangible के section और अच्छे से इसकी बात करूंगा मैं. But I just gave you an example and I want to hammer down one point. मैंने कहा गोल्ड है, गोल्ड की वैल्यू डिक्लाइन हो गई, मैं गोल्ड बेचता हूँ, मेरी गोल्ड ज्वेलरी की दुकान है मेरी, एंड इट टर्न्स आउट मैंने गोल्ड खरीदा था एट अ सर्टेन प्राइस, बट अब मार्केट में उससे सस्ते में मिल रहा है. शुड आई इम्पेयर माय इन्वेंटरी? टेल मी इन द चैट. शुड आई इम्पेयर माय इन्वेंटरी? बताओ. So Tushar is like, nahi, if it's going to go up within the same current year, within the same current financial year या calendar year, depending on what you are, that is the point. Pradeep sir कह रहे no, शिवानी बोल रही है no, भरत सर भी कह रहे no, सुमित सर भी कह रहे no, 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 correct? No, because the value of gold is a fluctuating situation anyway. It's a fluctuating commodity. Gold की value ऊपर नीचे होती है. The point is, we only consider a permanent decline in value to cause impairment. If the decline in value is only temporary, क्योंकि अभी गिर गया है, पर फिर उठ जाएगा अगले हफ्ते में, गोल्ड इज अनप्रेडिक्टेबल, ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है, ओवरऑल मार्केट चेंज होती रहती है, तो दैट विल नॉट नेसेसरीली इंडिकेट इम्पेयरमेंट. इम्पेयरमेंट तब आती है जब कोई ऐसी चीज जिसका रिलेटिवली स्टेबल प्राइस है परमानेंटली डिक्लाइन हो गया, फिर इम्पेयरमेंट है. दैट इज द आइडिया. सो इम्पेयरमेंट is only to be recognized if you know that it is a permanent decline. If it is a temporary decline and you feel कि इस साल में, साल के एंड से पहले ये चीज रिकवर हो जाएगी, तो then there is no need for impairment. You don't need to mark impairment then.